institutions, commissions, tribunals established in that constitution, even judiciary, which we expect to have a lot of independence, especially on the aspect of consolidated fund. We should be a lot of money to be able to, as in, increased from the 24 billion they always receive, which this year was even reduced anyway. But unfortunately, they have ignored the full implementation of that constitution. Before we even change any clause in that particular document, it's time we first breathe life into it. We gave it unto ourselves, but we have ignored the blatant ignorance on some of those particular clauses that we felt were important. One of them is the aspect of integrity, the aspect of accountability, respect to the Bill of Rights. So the government has been in total violation of some of these things. Instead of first of all showing a goodwill by holding some of these leaders accountable, we are moving to now creation of new offices. We are from questioning some of the offices which are already there, like the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the office of people like the First Lady and the Second Lady. But instead of addressing that, someone is thinking of having an office and creating a job for themselves, which is a very crooked way of running things. People should have honest approach to issues, honest advocating for change without thinking of selfish gain of just political positions. And it's unfortunate that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga had to make some of those utterances, and some of the movie has been making in the recent days, where we have been seeing him advocating for better governance, criticizing this government for the misuse of public funds, and being so much into their case for the way they have run the government, especially in bad governance, as he claimed it. So overnight, why his close allies had to cross the other side without any explanation of what has really changed, and now go ahead to call for something he's calling national dialogue in an aim to try and amend the constitution. We find that is very hypocritical of him, and that is very not honest of him, and we expect better, because if the ideals he claimed to have believed in and fight for were honest, then those are not the kind of actions we want to be seeing from him.
Mm-hmm. Gabriela, are we in a constitutional moment? And, you know, some accuse Odinga of hijacking the Gen Z revolution. And even with that, or with the dust yet to settle, already is moving forward to even propose a constitutional amendment. Are we in a constitutional moment right now as a country?
No, I believe we do not have a governance issue in Kenya. The problem is we have a leadership problem in Kenya. And I blame Kenyans for that. When leaders fail to address the problem, then the leader becomes the problem. I blame Kenyans for that. Why? Because we have been voting on basis of tribal formation and tokenism. So who will we blame? We will blame ourselves until 2027. Now, all political leaders, both opposition and government side, it's very unfortunate that they are now signing, they're using our blood, the Gen Z blood, to sign political deals. Very unfortunate. It's like we don't matter in this country. So I don't think we have a governance problem. We only have a leadership problem, because what we are experiencing now is ignorance from our leaders. If they can do the right thing, we will be somewhere. But at the moment, let the government do the right thing. We don't need any dialogue. We don't need any BBI, any that NADCO thing. We don't need. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
creation of the office, or the establishment of the office of the Prime Minister and official leader of opposition, what do you have to say about that?
I think that's another expense for taxpayers. Why create a payable opposition office? For what purposes? Because you see, if you have an opposition office, it means it must have a budget yearly. So will we go back to our pocket to fund that office? No. So what we have now is we should focus on our leaders and governance issues. Let's just forget those many offices, like office of the First Lady, office of the Prime Minister. It doesn't make sense now that we are in an economical tough time. Yeah.
Wakili Mbugua, at a time that Kenyans are decrying that some of the offices that are there are even overspending, their budgets run into billions of shillings, this particular creation of the office of the Prime Minister and official leader, will it not burden the common mwananchi?
Definitely it will burden the Kenyan mwananchi, and definitely it is a selfish position that they are trying to create. Joe, if you look at the country like Kenya with a population of 50 million and the size, even geographical size, and you compare it to a state like Texas, which is almost a similar size, and the number of leaders you have in such kind of a state, we only have one governor in such a kind of a state, 2 senators, and very few number of members of parliament or House representatives. Country like Kenya, we already have a bloated government. The people in leadership are so many. We have positions for everything. You create a cabinet secretary, you give them assistants, the principal assistant secretaries, more than one. You also provide advisors. Then you go ahead and create an office of a woman rep. We also have the opposition office of the First Lady, and she has a whole leadership, people in the office managing the affairs in that particular office. When you ask them what they are really doing for this country, apart from spending money from taxpayers, they have nothing to show for. So to proceed and start claiming we need a new office for a prime minister and a whole battery of people to work and advisors who are going to be in that office, motor vehicles who are going to move around crisscrossing the country in trying to provide them with a good life, that is what we need to reject as Kenyans. And those are offices should be not accepted by Kenyans, because to be honest, Kenyans are already suffering enough. The burden of taxation is so high, making it very impossible to sustain a moderate life for any common Kenyan. Now to add them an extra burden would be overstretching, and will be trying to ensure that we want to kill Kenyans. That is trying to kill Kenyans.
Gabriela, you know, some of the legislative clauses that Raila seeks to also bring on board, it's the proposal to increase a 7-year term, or from 5 to 7 years a term for a senator, even as he's proposing that they be given an oversight fund. Do you feel there is need for senators to be given, first of all, the oversight fund, so that they're able to properly oversight, you know, the 47 counties that are there, and they can also be able, of course, to hold the governors accountable. But the 7-year term, will this now create room for sneaking in of the previous contested bills, controversial, in fact, to increase also the term limit of the president? Will this now create the loophole for that proposal to come forth yet again?
Yeah, sure. Because first, they are saying we should, Raila Amolo Odinga is proposing to increase the term limit. Why? As for me, I don't see what's in most counties, like in northern Kenya counties, senators are doing nothing on matter oversight. They are in bed with the governors, and when you fail to give them tenders, that's when they start shouting and pretending to oversighting that county. Like a county like Samburu County, I've just seen the report of control of budget. Development was called zero. So tell me, what was the senator of that county doing? Was he in bed with the governor? I don't think there is a problem. I don't think we should now focusing on increasing the limit, because it will mean every governor, it will mean all politicians to increase their term limit from president to senators, because you cannot tell me as Kenyans will be going for election differently. Senators work on election, yeah, president different time, women rep different time. No, I don't think it's the right thing, but I think nowadays person advising Baba is misleading Baba, because I think the Baba I know, he cannot just come out and start saying proposing to increase term limits now that the already bloated government representatives are doing nothing. Me, I don't see. By the way, I'm advocating for to that gender role, but I don't see the office of the women report it doing in county level. They don't have funding, enough funding. They just have a small affirmative funds. I don't think they are doing anything. They are just there to increase, to make us taxpayers pay for their salaries, but they are doing nothing. No impact at the ground level. So I don't think there is need for term limit. Baba to reset, to go back to the setting mode and see what he's proposing, because nowadays I don't think it's doing well. Yeah.
Wakili Steve, at a time that the country is having a conversation of living within its means, already with the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024, we are unable even to fund development that is very critical. The 47 centers that are there, increasing their term by 2 years, will it be effective in terms of oversighting the governors? However, there will now be an oversight fund. Already with the provisions that are there, centers can even invite governors to come and explain what has been happening. Have they even utilized that enough that they need this fund so that they can go tour the counties and realize where there are gaps in terms of counties implementing their budgets?
I think I don't know where they're borrowing the aspect of 2 years, or maybe they just borrowed it from the US approach and just paste it in Kenyan's system. But I think before we borrow ideas from any other foreign country, it's important to understand the history of a country and to know why they felt the need to have a representative elected every 2 years, why they felt the president should go for 4 years, why they felt the senator should go for 7 years, and how the systems have been working for all those years. In Kenya, we already have a system that has been put in place. And every single time a governor is impeached by a member of the members of the county assembly, they know very well once they get to Senate, they are home. Wabora was impeached 3 times by the members of the county assembly. Governor Mwagangi has been impeached twice by the county assembly with various allegations of corruption. Even Honorable Mike Sonko is a court which made a declaration for him not to be able to proceed because the Senate was not able to act on some of these issues, because the Senate as an oversight body has for a long time not being held accountable. So Kenyans have devised a way that every single time you're not discharging on your duty, we go back to, I need a fund. I need a fund to run this thing. A member of parliament is not doing their job. They demand, I need a fund called the NGCDF to show development. Instead of showing us the roles you're doing as a parliamentarian, the oversight you're providing, the accountability you're demanding as a parliamentarian, no, all they claim is, I need a fund. Even right now, we saw the members of the county assembly, when they were cornered, they demanded for a fund so that they can be felt by the people. So clearly showing that they are not appreciating their role as parliamentarians or members of the county assembly, but instead they want to be an extension of the executive. So even the Senate right now, to demand for an extra 2-year term and a fund to run the affairs of trying to run oversight on the county government. The first question should be, what have they been doing? Since it is more than 10 years since they took over office, what has the Senate done in regard to oversight on the county government, appropriation of the money? A governor in a place like Homa Bay, a place without even traffic, only one street lane, governor is cruising with 10 vehicles across the city with alarm, siren and all over, and people following him all over who are salaried by the Kenyan taxpayers. So these are concerns that we should be addressing. These are issues that should be telling us what they've been doing, not to demand for an extra fund to be able now to claim that will connect them more to the people, because that is hypocrisy at the highest
With such proposals, of course this is from Azimio's side or from Raila Odinga's side, there are attempts at least thrice to increase the term limit for the president. Are we risking now also having that come back?
We can't take chances. With the kind of leadership that we have in this country right now, we can't take chances to allow those kind of conversations to even be imagined. Because when people can clearly violate even court orders on the when there is a court order and they don't regard it and proceed to go contrary to those orders. And we saw them even appoint some of these people who are even being, we are told they are still receiving payment, and yet the court declared some of those positions of CAS unconstitutional. But they are we still see them dining with the government and the government, attending government functions, whether as government positions or under whose salary, we don't know whose allowances. But so we can't risk that conversation. And I don't know whether Raila Odinga is speaking on behalf of Azimio, because I think some of the people in Azimio have already walked out, or is speaking as Raila Odinga, because some of the leadership of the ODM have also spoken against the so-called coalition with the government. Even himself has confirmed that they are not in a coalition with government. So we don't know what they are speaking about, to be honest. I think those are...
We don't know who is speaking.
What interest that is so big for the country.
People riding behind Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yeah. Gabriela, the Kotu boss is also proposing, that is Francis Atwoli, delinking deputy president from being elected alongside the president. What do you have to say about these? Do you support that move, that come the next general election, we don't have to elect, the deputy president. Instead, the president can appoint the deputy president?
I have a problem with people like, let's be honest, with people like Atwoli in this country. Atwoli has been there since independence. I've been hearing about Atwoli since 1997 there. What changed? What impact has he created? Atwoli is among the political brokers who have been blackmailing every government that is coming in place. Their surviving tactics is now creating tension between the president and his deputy. I don't see the reason why the president can have a deputy president as appointed. No, they should be the presidency, so that no one can tishia mwingine. Yeah.
And does that also now put, the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua on spot?
They are targeting Rigathi Gachagua. You have seen many politicians speaking. They are now targeting Rigathi Gachagua, trying to divert the Gen Z issues to Rigathi Gachagua Mount Kenya leadership, trying to say he's a leader of Mount Kenya, trying to divert our attention. But I think it will not see the light of the day, because the Gen Zs are learned people there, and they can differentiate between being blackmailed by politicians. Yeah.
Wakili Mbugua, on this one, the president to run first, then come and appoint the deputy president. I'm not sure if that is happening anywhere in the world. Perhaps the same for governors. That even despite some of the governors being elected with their DGs, there's always a lot of issues less than a year after they take over office. What are we looking at here, if at all we end up with such a proposal sailing through?
I think the question is why? Because we always had that option since independence. The president was always elected, then he would fire and hire the VP at wish then. And until now, we brought in the new constitution where we agreed as Kenyans, we want to vote for them under one ticket. Why did we do that? Because we felt, for obvious reasons, that people are being fired if you don't align politically. And what was the malice being the keyword is the aspect of, even in some instances, we never used to have. There's a time the Moi ran the government without a vice president for almost a year. I think more than a year. So this proposal that is being made, I'm very sure is not being made for the benefit of Kenyans.
Yes.
It is being made to ensure that any single time the deputy president doesn't agree with the president, and you don't have to agree every single minute because they are all different and they share different ideals. Every single time there is a conflict, the president can fire and hire at wish. But Kenyans had felt there is need to provide a security of tenure for the deputy president. And the president himself was a beneficiary of that particular clause. So why now he feels they feel that clause should be kicked out, because there seems to be in bed nowadays with the Honorable Raila Odinga.
In the current scenario where there are calls that the DP, that is Rigathi Gachagua, could be ousted with now the believed bromance between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Can the DP really be fired? Or perhaps just mount pressure on him to resign, or through Parliament be impeached? What are the provisions in the Constitution?
Impeachment can be done just the same way we can impeach the president through the Parliament. The only question is it that he's being kicked out because he has failed to discharge his duty as the vice president, or the deputy president, or because of political ideologies that are not aligning, or they have changed their alignment, which we know is most of the time is the case? What I would be of concern with, and what Kenyans need to know, is that to remove a deputy president in the office in the current constitutional dispensation, you need to use the legal structures already provided there. Either he can resign voluntarily himself, which I don't think is going to be the case. We have rarely seen that happen in this country. And secondly, the Parliament can remove him through a vote of no confidence. But if we are not feeling content, and if Parliament was to sit down and deliberate the aspect of being discontent with the deputy president, then it should be so shameful of them not to hit on the boss, because that is the man who the buck stops with, and that is the persons who, if there are any concerns of governance in the country, who we are holding liable, because he's the man on the top. So these are issues that if our Parliament want to help us and save the young people from the struggle of going to the street and kick them out, they can do that for the team. But if they are intending to just target for one person, we know it's just political witch hunt, and they're just speaking on behalf of the president.
And it's a strategy to silence the DP.
Well, on that breath, we take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be focusing on the compensation matter, where according to the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, over 60 persons died during the Gen Z, or in the course of the new revolution by the Gen Z. Even as 6 are still missing. The question is, who and how much should they be compensated? We take a short commercial break. We'll be back with that. Stay tuned.
Is the biggest